What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and when I saw this CBR article, the title, Star Wars, Jacen Solo versus Kylo Ren, who had the better arc, I was ready to get pretty upset about it, and I started reading it, and thankfully my expectations were somewhat subverted. And I've been talking about these two characters for a long time, basically ever since The Force Awakens, and we saw who Kylo Ren was. Basically, I was saying he was a cheap version of Jacen Solo. And even to say that, it's kind of an insult to Jacen Solo, one of my absolute favorite Star Wars characters. So thank you to Evangelia Galanis, who wrote this article. It's interesting. We're not going to spend too much time on the Kylo Ren stuff because I think you guys already probably know a decent amount about Kylo Ren, but I don't think as many people know about Jacen Solo. So let's get into this. Before Disney purchased Lucasfilm in 2012 and subsequently streamlined Star Wars continuity, there was the Expanded Universe, the umbrella term for any officially licensed material outside of the films, including novels, television series, video games, and comic books. These stories were rebranded in 2014 as Legends and deemed no longer part of canon, although some elements and characters, perhaps notably Thrawn, have since made it back into continuity. Jacen Solo will never follow that same path, but he nevertheless served as inspiration for Kylo Ren. And there is no doubt, as we get into, they're going to do a kind of an overview of Jacen's story arc and kind of compare it to Kylo's in this article. And if you're not familiar with Jacen Solo, you will see you'll understand where they're trying to draw the parallels and why he was a Dollar General store version of Kylo Ren. It was one of my first videos that I did for Geeks and Gamers, I believe, was a lore video based on Darth Caedus and how he was so much different than Kylo. So let's get into it. It's no surprise the two share similar story beats, but now that Kylo Ren's story is over, it raises questions. Which character had the stronger arc? And this does go over who Ben Solo is. I think that a lot of you, if you've watched the movies, there's not too much more that they go into in the books and in the comic books than we know. They're starting to a little with Rise of Kylo Ren, but other than that, not much. If you've seen the movies, you've kind of seen it. But who is Jacen Solo? Actually, let's read this last paragraph for Kylo Ren. After the destruction of Luke's Jedi Academy, Kylo Ren joins the First Order. He's characterized by his hunger for power and motivated by his hate and anger. He hunts for Luke, who has gone into hiding, but despite finally being able to choose his own path, he doesn't feel fulfilled. Ren is haunted by the conflict between the light and dark. By the time of The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren is roughly 30, well into his ways as a pseudo-Sith apprentice. Once he sees Han Solo again, he chooses to fully embrace the dark side by murdering his father. Now, who is Jacen Solo? Like Ben, Jacen was born after the Battle of Endor and also joined Luke's Jedi Academy. Jacen served as a Jedi Knight for years, but the Yuzong Vong War changed everything. That conflict tore the galaxy apart, resulting in the death of trillions. And if you've heard me talk about New Jedi Order series before, it's so dark. It really changes. It takes a turn from the traditional Star Wars stories we've been told and really gets to some real consequences. And it's where I really think Star Wars started taking off and becoming better as far as the expanded universe. That conflict tore the galaxy apart, resulting in the death of trillions, devastating both the New Republic and the Jedi Order. Jacen was the hero of that war, defeating the leadership of the Vong and ending the conflict. However, his victory came at a price. Many of his allies, spoiler alert, including Chewbacca and his brother Anakin Solo, were killed. And both of those moments are extremely powerful. If you've heard me talk about them before, I'm not going to get too into it, but Chewbacca's death and Anakin Solo's death, extremely emotional. I actually had an interaction with Troy Denny on Twitter the other day saying that Star by Star, the book of where Anakin sacrifices his life, brings me to tears every time I read it. And it's true. It's one of my favorite books in the entire expanded universe. Additionally, Jacen had been a captive of the Yuzong Vong, who placed him in a device called the Embrace of Pain, which continuously stimulated his pain receptors and served as his prison for a year. A secret Sith apprentice named Vergir taught Jacen how to survive, but unknown to him, the very lessons that kept him alive were his introductions into Sith doctrine. After the war, Jacen traveled the galaxy and learned from different Force users. Upon his return, he adopted a more detached view of life and death. reasoning that sacrifices had to be made for the greater good. He began to have visions of a dark man sitting on a throne, casting the galaxy into another age of suffering. Jacen was determined to prevent that from happening. And that's a very great explanation. It's always so hard for me when I make lore videos to take all of who a character is and break it down into a couple paragraphs. But this is a great paragraph doing that. He traveled the galaxy to learn from new fortunes. Upon his return, he adopted a more detached view of life and death, reasoning that sacrifices had to be made for the greater good. And it's true that Jacen very much came back with this idea of it's not necessarily about the light or the dark side, right? It's about your intentions that matter. And if you have to kill some people to prevent the death of tons of others, then why not be preemptive and do that? Even if it is aggressive, even if you may be leaning towards the dark side. It's about your intentions. It's interesting psychology, interesting theory. So, good way to sum it all up. He embarked on a mission while Ben Skywalker and Nalani Din and encountered a woman who revealed herself to Jacen as Lumia, the Dark Lady of the Sith. She explained that Jacen could use the dark side and could not be corrupted by it to bring peace to the galaxy. However, Nalani Din overheard and urged Jacen against believing Lumia. Jacen sought out possible futures in the Force and encountered a vision of himself fighting Luke and killing him while the galaxy remained at war. In all possible futures, he saw the only time that was prevented was when Nalani Din died. Jacen reasoned that Luke must live for the greater good and thus struck down Din and began his Sith apprenticeship. And Lumia isn't really a Sith. She's basically just someone who knows enough to be able to guide Jacen along his path. Like Ben Solo, he fell completely to the dark side by killing a family member, only instead of killing his father, he killed his aunt, Mara Jade Skywalker. Like Kylo Ren, he embraced a new identity, Darth Caedus. And you can definitely see, especially when you actually read about this character, where this inspiration for Kylo Ren came from. And if you know who Jacen is, that's why you hate Kylo Ren all the more. That's if you know who Darth Caedus is and the struggle he went through in his journey, that's why you hate Kylo Ren. Conflict with Luke Skywalker. Ben and Jacen both have stories that heavily feature a conflict with Luke. In The Last Jedi, Luke is petrified by Ben's darkness. He is briefly tempted to kill his nephew, but ultimately feels shame in the fleeting thought. Upon seeing his uncle standing over him, ready to strike, Ben fights back. This is a significant moment for Luke and Ben, placing them on their respective paths. In Legends, the expanded universe, Jacen and Luke's struggle has more weight. Not only did Caedus kill Luke's wife, he also turned his son, Ben, tried to the dark side. Luke encountered Caedus torturing Ben in the embrace of pain, leading to a duel. When he says Ben, it's Ben Skywalker. Ben Skywalker is Luke's son in the expanded universe, because it makes sense that Luke would name his son Ben after, interacting with the spirit of Obi-Wan, who he called Ben for so long. He was his mentor. It makes sense that he would name his son Ben. Anyway, leading to a duel between the two. Luke was fully prepared to kill his nephew, but he feared that striking down Caedus in anger, he would fall to the dark side himself. This conflict is magnified by Luke's internal struggle from killing Lumia, whom he had believed had killed his wife. And he basically murdered her. Yeah, it was pretty dark. The redemption of Jacen and Ben Solo. Ben Solo is able to kill his father but not his mother in The Last Jedi. He's unable to fire on Leia's ship. Similarly, Jacen has his own weakness, his daughter. And that is why Jacen goes on this entire path, is to save the galaxy for a future for his daughter. And at the end, he doesn't think that he has the same weaknesses as Anakin Skywalker. He sees the path that Anakin Skywalker walked and how his weakness and his love and attachments to Padme and to their children ultimately led to the dark side, to becoming Darth Vader in a selfish way. That's how Jacen always thought about it. But at the end of the day, he could not avoid that himself. He cared more about his lover and his daughter, specifically his daughter, than he cared about a lot of other things. When the Moss of the Imperial Remnant crafted a nano-weapon that would target his wife and her people, Caedus feared for his daughter's life. As he left to save her, his twin sister Jaina stabbed him in the abdomen. that's somewhat similar to the Rise of Skywalker's final confrontation between Kylo and Rey, where in a moment of concern for his mother, Ben's defenses fall, allowing Rey to stab him in the abdomen. Hadn't even thought about that until reading that, but that's 100% true. God, J.J. Abrams is awful. It steals everything. Jaina had unique training. Jacen Solo, his sister, had unique training studying under the tutelage of both Boba Fett and Luke at different points in her life. Like Rey and Kylo's fight in Force Awakens, Caedus was faced with an opponent who employed an unfamiliar fighting style and was at a disadvantage due to his injuries. Then this is the part. God. Caedus begged his sister during their duel to help his daughter and pass an opportunity to strike down Jaina, realizing it would waste precious time to save his daughter. He deactivated his lightsaber and used his final moments to warn his wife and daughter to flee to safety. At that moment, Jaina and Jacen's psychic bond returned, signifying that he died as Jacen rather than Caedus. In Rise of Skywalker, Ben Solo couldn't save his mother, but he used his final moments to save Rey, someone that he could repeatedly cause harm to. Like Jacen and their grandfather before them, that display of humanity allowed him to die as Ben Solo, not as Kylo Ren. In the aftermath, the Resistance celebrated the fall of Palpatine, and presumably Kylo Ren. In Legends, Caedus' death ultimately brought peace to the galaxy, an idea that had inspired his turn to the dark side in the first place. The warring factions had become united against Caedus, and following his death made a peace settlement. The vision of the man on the throne that Jacen sought to prevent was replaced by one of his daughter, Alana, sitting atop a white throne as a Jedi Queen. So although Jacen Solo's ultimate quest, what he thought he was doing to change the course of the galaxy, didn't happen the way he thought it would, his actions did lead to peace in the galaxy in a very strange way. Jacen was right in what he did and what he had to do. It's just what makes it so unique. Whose arc is better? The bottom line. This is what I wanted to know when I started reading this article. Whose arc is better? Jacen's or Kylo's? Ben Solo and Jacen's similarities run deeper than merely being the bad seed child of Han and Leia. They have similar story beats, although Jacen's is far more defined. Part of that is because of the benefit of that long-form storytelling. While both stories have inherent element of tragedy, Ben's turn and redemption lack the emotional depth of Jacen's. The latter's torture, subtle seduction, and flawed motivation provide a layered approach to the character and his fall. There's much more of a finality to Jacen's arc, bittersweet as it is. The familial elements in Jacen's are more prominent, allowing for intriguing drama. Because Luke, Han, and Leia are mostly background characters in the sequel trilogy, they don't receive a chance to shine in Ben's story. Additionally, Rey and other characters who fight Kylo have no significant bond to the boy he was, where characters like Jacen Solo and Ben Skywalker do have that connection to Jacen, adding more emotion. So when it comes to the battle of the Solo kids, we have to give this one to Jacen. And there should never have been any doubt in that. Anyone that thinks otherwise, I don't know who or why, what you're looking at or what you've been reading. But great article and breakdown by this CBR columnist, Evangelia Galanis. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for what she does because I really appreciated this article. But again, one of my all-time favorite characters in Star Wars is Jacen Solo. And the fact that Ben Solo is such a clear ripoff of a couple elements of Star Wars, but specifically trying to be that, bad seed child that fell to the dark side of Han and Leia, was disgusting for me when I saw it. One of the reasons that I hated Force Awakens so much, and one of the reasons that I despised so much of what Disney tried to do, because I saw what I had, and they threw it away and tried to pick these elements out that are just bastardized versions, and it just was not the same. It wasn't good. That was why I had such a problem with it. So good to see this. I will forever be on Team Jacen, Team Caedus. Lethal Lightning, my buddy Lethal Lightning is a huge fan of Caedus as well. Use him as a profile picture a lot of the time. And Jacen's just a badass, and Kylo is a punk ass. That's like the bottom line. There's no comparing these guys other than the fact that they tried to use him as a template. But Jacen Solo, far and away superior. Let me know what you guys think. Do you know anything about Jacen Solo or Darth Caedus other than maybe what we've talked about here in this channel? Would you like to know more? Do you think that Kylo Ren compares in any way, shape, or form? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this out there, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.